In all evils, adultery is the first. Is masturbation considered adultery and creates karma? Welcome back everyone to Mind Podcast. In all evils, adultery stands at the forefront. In the past, everyone knew about the scandal involving Miss X and the wealthy tycoon Y, related to a sexual contract. They were in a romantic relationship, and the 16.5 billion VND she received was agreed upon for their relationship over 7 years. The ancients have a saying, what goes around comes around. When people are born, they come with nothing, and when they leave, they also go empty-handed. Today, because people don't believe in karma, when misfortune strikes, they think it's just bad luck. However, these misfortunes are the results of numerous previous wrongdoings. If one understands karma, they wouldn't dare to commit crimes. For instance, if Tycoon Y didn't chase fleeting pleasures driven by lust, the temporary joy he felt was insignificant compared to the immense suffering he now faces. As a result, Tycoon Y lost money, his wife wants to end their marriage, his work is stalled due to the lawsuit, and people look at him with disdain. If weighed on scales, a wise person would choose what truly benefits them, rather than blindly stepping into such a mess. Similarly, for the beautiful Miss X, she is young and intelligent with a bright career ahead, but for the past 2 years, she has been entangled in this lawsuit, her reputation tarnished, and her career declining, leaving her anxious. Regarding family happiness, especially marital life, throughout his teachings, the Buddha repeatedly reminded women to maintain their chastity and men not to harbor adulterous thoughts. Adultery is classified as a grave sin. Those who commit adultery often harbor bad thoughts, words, and deeds. They destroy the happiness of their own and others' families. Understanding adultery correctly reveals that while it brings temporary pleasure, it results in severe karma. Some lose face, some lose their jobs, some destroy their families, and some become childless. A person destined for wealth and prosperity can become miserable and distressed throughout their life if they commit adultery. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha discussed the issue of adultery and its consequences. An adulterer is seen as a murderer who destroys the future of a happy family. This doesn't even mention the negative impact on their children due to parental divorce caused by adultery. When a husband cheats, he satisfies himself, but his wife suffers. The wife's unease creates a tense family atmosphere, affecting their children. Thus, a cheating husband not only causes his wife pain, but also involves all family members in suffering, including himself. The suffering caused by adultery spreads like a virus, quickly destroying family happiness. Speaking of the other woman, the third party, they might feel triumphant for capturing the man's affection. But one day, they realize the man only sees them as an object, coming when he's bored and leaving when he's done. They might think that being with a wealthy man will bring lifelong happiness, believing they'll have a different life once married. However, karma comes unexpectedly. For Miss X, karma arrived early, making her endure visible consequences. A woman who causes another's family to break apart must face similar karma. Adulterers bear public scorn, live with guilt, and the severity depends on their actions. Many think only killing shortens one's life, but in reality, adultery also attracts serious diseases, financial ruin, loss of blessings, and shortens lifespan. Moreover, after death, they might fall into hell to endure suffering. Thus, the lawsuit involving Miss X serves as a warning to those intending or already committing adultery. One should not destroy their own or others' families due to momentary weakness or temptation. Not everyone understands adultery correctly, as it depends on specific circumstances. However, generally, compassionate, ethical, and morally cultivated people maintain a pure and respectful mind. They use purity to nurture their virtues and righteous thoughts to resist evil desires. Ignorant people, focused only on current benefits and desires, lack foresight and easily commit adultery. Some lose their lives, some lose their positions, some destroy their families, and historically, some even end their lineage. The virtuous person knows this is a great misfortune and strictly avoids it, thus maintaining their virtues and enjoying blessings. In contrast, the petty person sees it as great happiness and falls into it, resulting in evil consequences. Fortune or misfortune doesn't come naturally, but is the result of past actions. Moreover, indulging in lust and sensual pleasures comes very quickly. Nowadays, people chase temporary pleasures, forgetting core values, becoming ignorant. Only those who lack fear dare to act indulgently. If they don't repent, they will face karma's punishment. They might deceive others but can't deceive themselves. Knowing they've done wrong, they feel anxious and disturbed. Additionally, everything they do is known and recorded by deities, even the smallest details. The virtuous person always behaves properly, even when alone, knowing that deities observe from above. Even in darkness, without anyone around, they don't dare indulge in desires and maintain strict self-discipline daily. The ancients have a saying, "In all evils, adultery stands first." The harsh outcomes of those who engage in adulterous acts have been witnessed and passed down through generations. As soon as the thought of lust arises, various evil intentions follow, leading to sinful actions and the destruction of all virtuous thoughts. Such lustful desires can even lead to the intent to harm others to satisfy oneself, eroding one's integrity and moral values. The ancients also said that a person who cultivates even a single pure thought receives blessings from the heavens. When faced with life's obstacles, we often tend to escape, making us weak in the face of desires, leading to further mistakes. If we understand that indulging in desires cannot bring true happiness, we will recognize that it often leaves us feeling empty or guilty, having lost our direction. Persisting on a wrong path only leads to more suffering. Therefore, it is wise to turn back and start anew. If one cultivates themselves enough to recognize that in all evils, adultery stands first, and thus resists lustful desires, they can unexpectedly bring great blessings upon themselves. Ancient Chinese texts record numerous examples of this, serving as timely warnings for people to control their desires, restore their conscience, and cultivate virtue, becoming pure and noble individuals. Only by correcting oneself can one regain fortune and avoid disaster. During the Ming Dynasty, there was a scholar named Sun Hao. His family was poor, so he had to cross the river to teach and make a living. Later, he worked for the Zhang family on West Street, doing clerical work in exchange for food. One late night, a maid from the Zhang family secretly came to Sun Hao's room. Knowing her intentions, Sun Hao loudly proclaimed, "The ancient texts say that the three corpses' spirits always follow and record our every mistake. Do you think the heavens are unaware of what happens in the quiet of the night?" Sun Hao sternly rejected her. However, a teacher from the Zhang family witnessed this incident. The teacher secretly summoned the maid. On the Dragon Boat Festival, this teacher subtly developed severe ulcers all over his body, which could not be treated. The Zhang family then invited Sun Hao to take over as the teacher. One day, Sun Hao met his uncle at the riverbank. His uncle was surprised and said, "My son was ill, so I went to the city god temple to pray. I stayed overnight and dreamt of the city god seated in his hall. The city god called his subordinates to present the register of those destined to die of starvation. As the names were read, I heard your name. I asked the city god why your fate was changed. The city god replied, Sun Hu was destined to die of starvation at the age of 46 in a foreign land. However, on the night of April 18th this year, he sternly rejected the advances of a maid, thus extending his life by 24 years and changing his fate from starvation to prosperity." Hearing this, his uncle continuously congratulated Sun Ho. In the following years, Sun Hao's students increased, and his annual tuition income reached over 100 taels of gold. In the 36th year of Wanli, when Sun Hao was 46, there was indeed a severe famine, and rice became extremely expensive. Many poor people couldn't afford it, and countless died of starvation. However, Sun Ho not only survived, but also became wealthy. In his old age, his family remained affluent. He passed away peacefully at the age of 70, fulfilling the prophecy of a 24-year life extension. Dear friends, many people wonder whether masturbation is considered adultery. In today's society, many self-proclaimed experts encourage masturbation as a way to avoid marital infidelity and the resulting family breakdowns. People worry and wonder if masturbation is a sin, fearing severe karma after death if it is. However, understanding adultery correctly reveals that masturbation is not considered adultery. But don't celebrate too quickly, because this seemingly harmless action can be the root cause of many frightening consequences, perhaps even worse than adultery itself, which you might not foresee. We understand masturbation as the act of self-stimulation combined with fantasies about erotic subjects to achieve sexual pleasure. Today, the power of information technology bombards us with erotic images, pornographic films, explicit clips, and seductive pictures, flooding our lives through various media and social networks. This saturation has led many to view it as normal, considering those who do not conform to this trend as outdated. Such information infiltrates the minds of both adults and children, stirring up desires. If people continue to follow these urges, it drives them to seek sexual satisfaction. When circumstances don't allow, they often resort to masturbation, believing it helps relieve psychological stress and reduce tension. However, this is merely an excuse to justify their actions, creating an opportunity to indulge in sexual desires. Over time, it becomes a habit with unforeseen consequences. Though Buddhism does not specifically address masturbation, the Buddha warned about the dangers of uncontrolled desires in emotional life, leading to severe consequences if not appropriately regulated. In reality, those who masturbate often lack the ability to control their desires, easily falling into excessive indulgence, which affects not only their health but also their personal and familial blessings, often without their knowledge. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught, monks who are accomplished in 4 aspects are destined to fall into hell. What are these 4 aspects? 1 is engaging in sexual misconduct. 2 is encouraging others to engage in sexual misconduct. 3 is accepting sexual misconduct. And 4 is praising sexual misconduct. Monks who are accomplished in these 4 aspects are destined to fall into hell. From a Buddhist perspective, masturbation can be seen as sexual misconduct. So, even if you find an answer to whether masturbation is considered adultery, you must understand that while it may not be adultery, it still results in unfavorable karma. According to Buddhist precepts, masturbation falls under unwholesome thoughts and behaviors, seen as misconduct in an expanded sense. Although not as severe as being unfaithful to one's spouse, it still carries corresponding karmic consequences. To experience true happiness in this human realm, one must practice sexual restraint, protect oneself, and maintain virtue. If one indulges in satisfying carnal desires through improper means, both body and mind will weaken, ethical standards will decline, and one might eventually commit serious crimes. While it is often underestimated, the lustful karma has a powerful influence on individual lives. Without transformation and control, it can lead to numerous sins. This is also one of the reasons why sexual crimes are increasingly prevalent in society today. Those who frequently engage in these behaviors have a darkened spirit, and as a result, their virtue and prosperity diminish. This bad habit is extremely dangerous and greatly destroys our merit. They become more distorted in their thinking, mentally unstable, and dissatisfied with those around them, gradually leading to discord. Their lives become unstable, and nothing they do succeeds. Research findings on masturbation indicate that addicts have lower concentration levels than those who rarely masturbate. Frequent masturbators often feel tired, find it difficult to concentrate on studies and work, and experience anxiety and discomfort. High-frequency masturbation can adversely affect the central nervous system and lead to other symptoms such as testicular pain, memory decline, and physical exhaustion. Overindulging in masturbation can lead to addiction, causing constant preoccupation with this issue. Furthermore, after each act of masturbation, men tend to feel guilty because they know this action is harmful. Although society today has a more open attitude towards masturbation, many still consider it sinful and feel self-reproach. Therefore, do not easily believe the claims of some doctors or experts who say that sexual misconduct or masturbation is harmless. In reality, the dangers of masturbation are significant. It causes problems that are not immediately apparent, and we unknowingly suffer the harmful consequences of masturbation. Desire is a major issue for humanity in general and for religion in particular. Correctly understanding desire and having an appropriate attitude towards it is crucial. In Buddhism, desire is not entirely evil or sinful, as the Buddha allows householders to live with desires according to humanistic and ethical standards. However, in monastic life, renouncing desire is a fundamental criterion for noble and aspirational living. Desire is a factor related to the downfall of a person. Understanding desire and how to transform it is extremely important in the ascetic life of a monk. Although the methods of transforming desire mentioned in the scriptures mainly pertain to monastics, in today's era where the presence of evil is increasing and is somewhat related to managing sexual energy, the methods of transforming desire taught by the Buddha are valuable references for anyone seeking self-mastery. Based on our initial survey, we summarize the methods of transforming desire taught by the Buddha in the Nikaya Sutras as follows. First, do not look directly. This was the Buddha's advice to Ananda in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. Not looking directly means avoiding and not approaching desires. Although this method is classical, its practical value transcends historical and spatial boundaries. The mind and the environment are closely connected. The mind easily develops improper thoughts when encountering corresponding desires. However, in real life, it is not always possible to avoid conditions that give rise to desires, and sometimes one must face them. In such cases, the Buddha teaches not to converse with them. Not conversing means not interacting with female beauty. Once the mind starts comparing and thinking, it creates attachment in the heart. Beauty is an undeniable reality. An ordinary person can recognize beauty when it is present. However, seeing beauty and becoming attached to it are two entirely different things. Here, the first method the Buddha taught is not to look directly, not to approach, not to converse, not to contact, and not to hold on to them in the mind. These are auxiliary measures to prevent desire from arising. This method is summarized by the Buddha in the All Defilement Sutra. Defilements must be eliminated through avoidance. Anchuttam Sutra also asserts similarly. For instance, a person with eyes who does not want to see the forms within their sight can close their eyes or look aside. The argument from the above sutras confirms that one of the initial methods to prevent and transform desire is not to look at or to avoid them. Secondly, consider them as relatives. Monastics often preach according to circumstances. So encountering women on their alms rounds and sometimes having to preach to them is a common event in many scriptures. The case of Venerable Pindola is a typical example. According to the scriptures, Venerable Pindola often flew in the air and chose King Udena's royal garden in Kabi as a place for meditation. During that time, the king and his entourage of maidens were in the garden. As the king fell asleep, the maidens wandered off and encountered Venerable Pindola. They listened to his teachings and forgot their duties. Waking up in anger, King Udena intended to impose the harshest punishment on Venerable Pindola. However, upon hearing the Venerable's explanation, "O great king, the Blessed One, the Wise, the All-Seeing, the Arahant, the Perfectly Enlightened One has said, 'Come, monks, regarding those who are only mothers, anchor your mind as a mother. Regarding those who are only sisters, anchor your mind as a sister. Regarding those who are only daughters, anchor your mind as a daughter.'" Particularly, Venerable Pindola affirmed to the king that, "When I entered the inner palace with a guarded body, guarded speech, guarded mind, anchored mindfulness, and restrained faculties, at that time, desire did not conquer me." Understanding this, King Udina repented and sought refuge as a disciple with the Venerable. The Venerable then performed a miraculous flight back to Jetavana Monastery. In this method of transforming desire, the support of two important virtues is necessary: shame and dread. Shame is self-regret, and dread is regret in the eyes of others. These are the two fundamental virtues shaping human ethical personality, because once strangers are regarded as relatives, one must behave according to the standards of relatives. To act correctly, one must know shame. According to the Anguttara Nikaya, these two virtues protect the world. Thanks to these virtues, one can recognize who is a mother, sister, wife, or relative. Living as a human being, one must know shame and dread. Without shame and dread, the world's moral order will fall into chaos, similar to the behavior of goats, chickens, ducks, pigs, and dogs. As mentioned in the Ambalathika Rahulavada Sutta, if a person lacks shame and dread, there is no evil they would not dare to commit. The metaphor of a young man who loves jewelry but is forced to wear the carcass of a dog, snake, or animal around his neck, always feeling disgusted and ashamed, is an impressive image of using the energy of shame and dread to reduce and transform desire. The third method is contemplating impermanence and impurity. Contemplating the decay of the body is an effective method for transforming desire. According to the Great Painfulness Discourse, the Buddha taught the monks the contemplation of a beautiful woman's life. According to the Buddha, one should focus on observing the maiden from her youthful prime to her old age with a wrinkled face and pale limbs. The contemplation should focus on her sickness, dirtiness, and lying in her own waste. Particularly, contemplate the changes in her body after death when it is thrown into the charnel ground. This is when insects and worms eat away at her body, and in the end, only a white skeleton remains. According to the Dhammapada commentary, by pointing out the reality of impermanence and impurity, the Buddha converted the devotee Rupananda. Many bhikkhunis in the Therigatha also attained liberation through these two contemplations. The contemplation of impermanence appears very frequently and is used in many contexts. The dialogue between the Buddha and Rahula also falls into this category. What do you think, Rahula? Is the I permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Blessed One. Is what is impermanent suffering or happiness? Suffering, Blessed One. Is it appropriate to regard what is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change as, this is mine, this is I, this is myself? No, Blessed One. This kind of conversation is cited in many scriptures. In the Satipatthana Sutta and the Kayasati Sutta, the contemplation of impurity is detailed and clear. According to the Buddha, one should contemplate the 32 impure parts of the body, from hair, nails, teeth, etc., to feces and urine. Practitioners must observe these 32 impure parts thoroughly and skillfully. The level of proficiency in contemplation must be similar to recognizing a small grain of rice in a pile of mixed grains poured out on the floor. Contemplating and maintaining awareness of the body's impurity will create superior self-control. For a practitioner proficient in impurity contemplation, they cannot find beauty, attraction, or allure in any human body, whether female or otherwise. The shocking story of Bhikkhuni Subha, who was harassed because of her beautiful eyes and gouged out her eye to give to her obsessive admirer, causing him to flee in horror, shows the proficiency in the contemplation of impermanence and impurity of the body. Proficiency in this contemplation eliminates worldly thoughts and desires. Contemplating the nature of desire, deeply contemplating its nature, is discussed in vivid metaphors from the Patala Sutta and others. For example, desire is like a bone and a hungry dog. A bone stripped of all meat, and the seeker of desire is like a hungry dog trying to find something to eat from that bone. No matter how hard it tries, the dog cannot satisfy its hunger with the bone devoid of any nourishment. Some interpretations even expand on the image of the hungry dog, bleeding from the mouth due to its efforts, licking its own blood and mistaking it for nourishment from the bone, leading to its own exhaustion. Secondly, desire is like a piece of meat in a flock of hawks. The story tells of a hawk with a piece of meat being attacked by other hawks with sharp beaks and claws. Only when it lets go of the meat does it find peace, while those holding onto the meat suffer. From this event, the Buddha's previous life reflects that our desires are like pieces of meat. Whoever grasps them suffers, whoever lets go finds peace. Thirdly, desire is like a prisoner near a burning pit. A burning pit of coals, with a prisoner being dragged towards it by two strong men. Faced with the pit's heat, the prisoner will struggle to escape the strong men's grip. A similar story is told in the Anguttara Nikaya, where the Buddha cleverly asked the monks, "What do you think, monks? Is it better to embrace and sit or lie near a large burning fire, or to embrace and sit or lie near the soft, youthful limbs of a noblewoman, a Brahmin woman, or a householder's daughter?" After hearing their response, the Buddha confirmed that when the mind is foul, filled with desire and unclean, suffering and misfortune are worse than being thrown into a burning pit. Fourthly, desire is like climbing a tree to pick fruit. There's a fruitful tree sought by many. After a series of efforts, they find the tree. Some climb high to pick fruit, while others try to gather what is within reach. However, those who cannot climb but still crave the sweet fruit will cut down the tree to satisfy their desires, unaware that their actions endanger others. A similar meaning is found in the Udana Sutta. The story tells of two groups infatuated with a courtesan, fighting fiercely with dangerous weapons, resulting in many deaths and near-death suffering. The Great Painfulness Discourse also tells a similar story. Climbing a tree to pick fruit is dangerous, just as infatuation with beautiful women leads to suffering. Fifthly, desire is like borrowed wealth. A person with borrowed wealth, though it belongs to others, feels joyous and confident. They are praised and respected wherever they go. They live in this state for so long that they believe the wealth is truly theirs. When the time comes for the owner to reclaim it, they feel sorrow and suffering. According to the Adultery Nikaya, wealth is threatened by kings, thieves, enemies, inferiority, fire, and water. Here, beauty and happiness are merely the result of many factors combined, as life is a blend of interdependent elements. Clinging to them inevitably leads to distress and suffering. Dear friends, when desire reigns, suffering follows. The interdependence between desire and suffering is a harsh reality pointed out by the Buddha to humanity. The peril of female beauty is a painful experience marked in many historical records. For an ordinary person, it takes significant effort to master and overcome the challenge of female allure. For a monastic with a vow of self-liberation and helping others, their ideal journey does not include traces of desire. The nature of desire and the methods of transforming it have been clearly taught by the Buddha. The success of transformation depends on each individual's focus and effort.
Listen to the Buddha's teachings for a light life without worries, peaceful and free. Using resentment to repay resentment will never end. The key is to cease and transform it into love to dissolve hatred. This is the most fundamental principle, alongside three things that will never be overshadowed by darkness: the sun, the moon, and the true nature of reality. The truth is never buried. If all these things are true, that teacher Devadatta has done, then his need for liberation must be extremely intense. If teacher Devadatta is born with a mind of shame, then his inner self will endure all scrutiny and even desire to escape this suffering more than before. Anula might be reborn as Ahimsaka, but she must trust Devadatta. Human beings want to shed their old selves. First, they need to be self-aware. If you talk about misfortunes, you can only count up to 10 fingers, but goodness can be in the hundreds. If our ancestors once committed wrongs that sowed bad fruits, then the remaining years of their lives are naturally similar to weeds. They will sink to the bottom of the water, while meritorious deeds will float like essential oil on the water's surface. Whatever you sow, you reap not only in this life, but also in many cycles of reincarnation, bearing the karma you have generated. The body in this life is not only for this existence. After this body is corrupted, it still remains in the cycle of samsara. Whatever you sow, you reap. Language is like a sharp knife. It kills people invisibly. When the Buddha passed, his glory spread everywhere, and his fragrance was overwhelming. The teacher who teaches, the teacher who warns, and the teacher who upholds the Vinaya were all drawn here by his fragrance. These teachers wish to repent with him. All issues have been satisfactorily resolved. We are waiting for his agreement to allow the two teachers into the monastery. Teacher Molana should let them go. Those two have disgraced B, and A is upset. Remember never to think that you have disgraced the Buddha. The issue is not that they have violated him, but whether they have truly practiced the Dharma. You are right. Teacher Sariputta has understood my meaning. If someone is born with a mind of shame and remorse, then they need courage, teacher. This is also the first step in correcting mistakes. They must be careful in both speech and action. Perform a formal repentance before the monks. Buddha, please grant your grace. This dispute has disturbed the tranquility of the monastic community and should not be allowed to recur. Invite them here, arrange their accommodation properly. I have stayed in Teacher Auda's monastery for a month. He and the monks are examples of compassion, love, and friendliness. The coming days are extremely important. I have seen far into the future, when fathers and sons oppose each other, brothers hate each other, husbands and wives are ungrateful, houses are burnt down, and all sorts of illegal things will follow. People keep harming each other due to race, language, and beliefs. This is the cause of division and lack of harmonious coexistence. Thanks to everyone's enlightenment, but humanity must do what to eliminate discrimination and view each other as siblings. We need to set a precedent in that era. Our standards will save humanity from the situation of oil lamp. Both teachers can reconcile. I am very happy. The teachers realized their mistakes and chose a peaceful way. This has set an example for the public to prevent future disputes in the monastic community. We will establish additional rules called the 7 Principles to End Disputes. Teacher Anan will clearly present these 7 things to all teachers. The teachers need to remember, doubt is the most severe disease. It divides people like a poison killing friendship. It is like a sharp thorn piercing the bones. Never forget that our thoughts create our humanity. I, Buddha, the teacher who practices the Vinaya, say, indeed, you are very arrogant from the beginning. What you said is not wrong at all. In my heart, I am very jealous of Buddha in this matter. I also have faults. Please forgive me, Buddha. We beg you to forgive us. Forgive us. I am only the one who points out the path to follow. The practice still depends on oneself. Teachers, fleeting joy will steal our assets. Those assets are the supreme tranquility. Once we are tempted by this joy and let it embed deeply into our minds, it is like a floating nail that keeps us sad and happy when faced with this situation. What should we do, Buddha? At that moment, you must focus on your breath. Breathe in slowly and deeply so that peaceful energy fills you. Then breathe out slowly to reach a supreme state of calmness. The mother and child are taking advantage of Teacher Anan's gentle nature to lead him into the path of passion. I love Teacher Anan very much. Isn't it so? I love him more than my own life. After all, what is special about Teacher Anan that makes me so infatuated? Everything about him, his eyes, his nose, his lips, his speech, everything he has, all his actions, I adore them all. Teacher Anan, you are noble, virtuous, and kind. No one does not love you. Have you ever seen the infinite love in Teacher Anan's heart? Do you know who Teacher Anan loves the most? Probably not you. You're wrong. Teacher Anan also loves you, but the meaning of his love is not like yours. Teacher Anan is free and independent. His love is deep, vast, encompassing all sentient beings, dedicating his entire being so that all sentient beings can enjoy unlimited love. Teacher Anan's love does not cause him to arise desires or suffering, but your love makes you want to possess him. If you truly love Teacher Anan, you will understand all these and not prevent him. On the contrary, your love can cause Teacher Anan to reach a higher realm. Your love is too selfish. You only want to keep Teacher Anan for yourself. Can't I love as Teacher Anan loves, sir? Can you teach me not to love so selfishly, to love like Teacher Anan? Love all sentient beings. The wings of the lotus are vast and infinite. Can you accept lowering people like me, sir? Please forgive me. From now on, I will follow your path. Master Ascetic stopped. Why didn't you listen when I told you to stop? I have already stopped. You still haven't stopped, aren't you afraid? I am the spirit of Anan. You are the person named Suffering Ascetic. They say you've stopped, but clearly you are still going. Then why do you say I haven't stopped? I have stopped. All evil actions harming sentient beings are trying to protect their lives. If you use a compassionate mind to observe, you will see that all sentient beings want to survive. I must kill them all. Humans have no love, even less compassion, only brutality and deceit. Because you have been hurt too deeply. Human cruelty stems from ignorance, hatred, jealousy, foolishness, fury, and desire. All are born from ignorance, but love, forgiveness, compassion, understanding, humility always exist within us. Even Angulimala, the most brutal person in the world, still has kindness and purity. Your eyes, observe carefully. You are not an ordinary person. I am a very ordinary person. I am bringing enlightenment teachings to humanity. All humans have the same enlightened nature. My path can transform brutality into fearlessness. Anula, stopping your hateful steps means you have embarked on the path of compassion and kindness. Then you are Buddha. Why is Buddha spreading liberation teachings everywhere? You have gone too deep into wrongness and sin. You have killed too many people. You can no longer stop. Nothing is impossible in doing good deeds. It is never too late, and you cannot turn back anymore. It is already too late. You can be wise enough to realize the crimes you have committed, meaning you still have the ability to clearly distinguish good and evil in this world. Angulimala, from today, if you cannot sincerely correct your mistakes, it means starting a new life. Whatever you do, in others' eyes, you are still a demon. They will not leave you alone. You can give up all violence. I will guide you, protect you from everyone's hatred. But the path, you must walk it yourself. Are you telling the truth? Of course, Anand. You have more wisdom than others. On the path to enlightenment, there must be great achievements. Teacher, I promise you, I will never do evil again. From now on, I will wholeheartedly follow your path of compassion. I beg you, please accept me as your disciple. Go, I do not accept disciples. People join the monastic community voluntarily. A snake sheds its old skin, replacing it with a completely new body. Humans can also rely on their own efforts to change their body and mind, to change their form to have a new life. What have you achieved in meditation, Buddha? Nothing, just that I have separated from desires, hatred, and escaped the sorrow. I no longer feel anxiety. I am not afraid. I am not afraid of aging, and I have conquered this death. The monks I care about are all righteous. A spark burns in the forest. To sustain the flame, it will burn everything in its path. The more it burns, the larger it becomes, and the evil flame is the same: anger, sorrow, greed, fear. They use our fuel to keep burning endlessly. The flames of hatred and greed burn forever until we are liberated from samsara. Suppose someone only focuses on material enjoyment in life, striving to earn lots of money, but in their heart they are bound in deeper and deeper conflicts, never knowing enough. They worry day and night, anxious. What if their wealth is lost? If humans can cut these bonds, they need not worry about their future, nor carry the burden of the past. Calm, free, mindful in the present, maintaining the middle way. In the end, they will attain true peace of this world. If someone has always adhered to certain principles, in the end, they will lose their spiritual freedom, becoming rigid and inflexible. If they blindly follow these prejudices, believing their faith is the only truth and denying all else, then their mental freedom no longer exists, leaving only a form of ideology dominating human thoughts, being controlled and conflicted, then opposed. Thus, blind trust naturally appears. Even without faith, people are more controlled. Thinking is an incredibly powerful energy. It can completely control you, but holding on to it tightly is the greatest obstacle on the path of practice. If it holds you tightly, the door to truth can never be opened. If everyone follows your teachings, will they still be bound? What I teach all stems from my own experiences. The path I teach is neither a principle nor a scripture, philosophy, but pure perception, and it is impermanent truth. But sir, if someone sees your path as a principle, then why is your path for practice, not to be relied upon, worshipped, or personally practiced practically? All my knowledge is like a raft, so that raft can be used to cross the river, but after we have crossed, do we need to carry it on our heads? But there is still a feeling that makes you unable to bow your head. Emotions are divided into three types: joy, sorrow, and tranquility. These three emotions are always present in our body and mind. Emotions are like living flames that rise and then return to tranquility. I suggest first to examine the extent of emotions, carefully understand and find out where they come from. Whether joy or sorrow, you must find their origin. Once you find their origin, you will discover that everything is nothing. The nothing we speak is like the vast blue sky, seemingly empty but covering all things, like a great mind mist. Keep practicing accordingly, and you will realize that the living flames will gradually settle, and a supreme tranquility existing deep in the inner self will no longer be disturbed. Reflect deeply inside, realize where the mistakes are. The most stubborn and difficult thing is also soft and weak. Ignorance is the source of all afflictions. My insight, thanks to meditation, meditation can eliminate ignorance. Besides meditation, prayer, asceticism, eating or offerings or other forms cannot achieve this. 7 years old now, so what have you won before I leave? No, because victory is due to loss. Loss? Yes, loss of anger, loss of greed, loss of jealousy and hatred, loss of envy. Because here I have nothing left, only reached tranquility. Understood, you mean you are very calm. But I am living in wrath, right? That is your own saying. Anger will make you suffer. I just argued a few words. Arguments cause fury that makes people stop before the truth. It's a way to protect oneself. I have no greed, that's good. Because anger is like a spark in the palm. We want to throw it to others, but before throwing, our own hand has been hurt. Before the bonds of desire, jealousy, anger, ignorance, and greed, we will help everyone escape from them. These flames are burning your lives, causing countless people to perish. In that, I call this woman outside, is also calling you to step out of the sentient being's spiritual door, being blocked by this great fire. But in the mind, there is always a window, like you. Sister, listen to my words. Those who approach me will be safe. Follow me out of this sea of fire. The path to liberation is right before your eyes. Your enemies cannot win. Only love can dissolve hatred. This is also the natural law of the world guiding you out. Do not hold on to the past, nor should you dream of future things. Just abide in the present moment. You will be liberated from suffering that seems unbearable. The names of people and their qualities and behaviors are often not matched, but for you, your name holds meaning. Kit Tung means anatha, Bika anatha means poverty, and also humility. Bika, your wealth is usually spent to help others, even if times change. Your fragrance and reputation will never fade, even if the food is plain, but if there is love, it will turn into deliciousness. You can devote your soul and property, all stemming from goodness. If I touch you, even your shadow offends me. Why am I offended by you? And we are all the same. How can one person's touch offend another? Only greed, hatred, ignorance, and desire can offend humans. A person full of love like you only makes others pleased, not causing them to suffer. It's not you, but what saint? You don't know anything about the pure path and culture. It's not enough to just wear the robes to become a monk. You are a deceiver. Thief. A thief who steals others' trust is a deceiver. If you call me a deceiver and it makes you feel better, then so be it. But this person is no different from us. They also have sin. If you see him as a lower being, despise him, then that's also deception. Let me tell you, this is our Dharma. Why call it deception? This earth has nurtured all humanity. The world nurtures him too. If two people despise each other, they are undermining, throwing sand into the empty sky, not being lowered, but the sand falls on our bodies. The empty sky does not discriminate, like a father secretly protecting our humanity. This vast earth, all kinds of fruits grow. They do not choose their users, bringing coolness to sentient beings. Water can quench the thirst of all beings. The natural world has never despised anyone. So why do humans step on each other like this? You say it's principle. Why not let him become a monk in your monastery? What you said is indeed very philosophical. Sunita, do you agree to become a monk or not? I am a commoner becoming a monk of a great teacher like you. I am not worthy of that status. Others' pain can make me suffer. I have such virtues, which are rare in the world. I am Buddha Hongin Suita becoming a disciple, monk of my generation. No one has talked to me in such a peaceful way. Today, you love and care for me like this makes me feel like a human for the first time. Hopefully, I have not committed any wrongdoing. All those wrongdoings will not happen again. Humans all have thinking. You must show your own potential, regain your dignity. My path is the path of vast love, welcoming all sentient beings. The Ganga River, Yamuna River, Asirvati River, Rahu River, Mahi River. These rivers all flow into the great ocean. They do not have differences in their status or names. Similarly, if someone is determined to renounce and follow the path of truth to practice, whether they are Balamon or Sasadili Fetsa or Shudala, in the end, all these flows will enter the ocean of truth. The tears of every sentient being have demon, and the blood is all red. People who create wrong prejudices to oppress others are our humanity today. I will eliminate all those wrong prejudices. Sunita is the first example, the beginning of history. Living and dying is inevitable in our lives. Generally, awakening yourself makes you not immersed in desire. Must live a peaceful, happy, and contented life. This is the truth of Dharma, the true meaning of life. That truth is neither born nor destroyed, neither beginning nor extinction, neither decrease nor increase. The only thing that exists is supreme serenity. Supreme serenity, supreme serenity. Teachers need to remember, doubt is the disease. It divides people like poison killing friendship. It is like sharp thorns piercing the bones. Never forget that our thoughts create our humanity. I am only the one who points out the path to follow. The practice still depends on oneself. Teachers, the most fearsome enemy of humans is themselves. What we do is what we think. Good thoughts lead to good actions. Bad thoughts lead to evil actions. This is the law of nature. I have found the path to liberation. Now, the door of blessings has been opened. This is everyone's good karma. I want to awaken those who are still immersed in darkness. Awaken their thoughts. You have renounced ascetic practices and say you have realized the supreme truth. Why do you still associate with ordinary people? I once told the teacher that I must become the tip of the grass blade. My body exists in all things in the world, forming a complete, beautiful entity. The pure teaching is simple. I am no longer Siddhartha as before. Use your spiritual eye to see me. Go, because of ignorance there is suffering, delusion, worry, greed, fury, arrogance, illusions, jealousy, fear arise from ignorance. Illusion contrasts with ignorance. Illusion has two opposite sides. Keep the middle way. Do not lean to either side. Do not let the body be hungry or passioned by desire. Focus on the middle path. If you recognize that bad karma is just an illusion, all afflictions will naturally disappear. You will then feel love and tolerance. The essence of these two emotions is the same. If you can feel this way, all hatred disappears, those who treat us brutally. You can also understand, and when the door of wisdom is opened, all that remains is tolerance. While meditating, if desires arise in the mind, wisdom can help you distinguish the truth from things, distinguish you and others. That distinction leads our life into confusion. Humans are often bound by emotions, and greed is the cause that makes humans stray from truth in the cycle of reincarnation. From birth to death, we fear illness and death. That fear only increases our ignorance and fear. Therefore, all illusions must be eliminated. Once stepping out of illusions, life will be free, escaping from constraints, calm, peaceful, and tranquil. The Four Noble Truths are the four high truths. First truth, no one can avoid, that is suffering. It follows us like a shadow to the form. Second truth, the cause of suffering is ignorance, greed, hatred, anxious mind, fear, and disappointment clinging to self. Third truth, the cessation of suffering is wisdom, understanding the truth about oneself, about life. This wisdom and insight lead to the cessation of suffering and give rise to peace. Fourth truth, the path to end suffering is the Noble Eightfold Path, nurtured by mindfulness, leading to concentration and wisdom, liberating all suffering. What is that path? It is the 8 right paths. Due to insight as reality, thinking as reality, pondering as reality, speech as reality, righteous action, righteous livelihood, righteous effort, and the true mind's abode will guide our actions. I am an enlightened being, and I am the Dharma. Fleeting joy will steal our assets. Those assets are supreme tranquility. And once we are tempted by this joy to embed deeply into the mind, it is like a long nail floating amidst sadness and joy. When faced with this situation, what should we do, Buddha? At that moment, you must focus on your breath. Breathe in slowly and deeply so that peaceful energy fills you. Then breathe out slowly to reach a supreme state of tranquility. The mother and child are taking advantage of Teacher Anand's gentle nature to lead him into the path of passion. I love Teacher Anand very much. Isn't it so? I love him more than my own life. After all, what is special about Teacher Anand that makes me so infatuated? Everything about him. His eyes, his nose, his lips, his speech, everything he has, all his actions, I adore them all. Teacher Anand, Brother Tunkoi, you are noble, virtuous, and kind. No one does not love you. Have you ever seen the infinite love in Teacher Anand's heart? Do you know who Teacher Anand loves the most? Probably not you. You're wrong. Teacher Anand also loves you, but the meaning of his love is not like yours. Teacher Anand is free and independent. His love is deep, vast, encompassing all sentient beings, dedicating his entire being so that all sentient beings can enjoy unlimited love. Teacher Anand's love does not cause him to arise desires or suffering, but your love makes you want to possess him. If you truly love Teacher Anand, you will understand all these and not prevent him. On the contrary, your love can cause Teacher Anand to reach a higher realm. Your love is too selfish. You only want to keep Teacher Anand for yourself. Can I love as Teacher Anand loves, sir? Can you teach me not to love so selfishly, to love like Teacher Anand? Love all sentient beings. The wings of the lotus are vast and infinite. Can you accept lowering people like me, sir? Please forgive me. From now on, I will follow your path. Master Ascetic stopped. Why didn't you listen when I told you to stop? I have already stopped. You still haven't stopped. Aren't you afraid? I am the spirit of Anand. You are the person named Suffering Ascetic. They say you've stopped, but clearly you are still going. Then why do you say I haven't stopped? I have stopped. All evil actions harming sentient beings are trying to protect their lives. If you use a compassionate mind to observe, you will see that all sentient beings want to survive. I must kill them all. Humans have no love, even less compassion, only brutality and deceit. Because you have been hurt too deeply. Human cruelty stems from ignorance, hatred, jealousy, foolishness, fury, and desire. All are born from ignorance, but love, forgiveness, compassion, understanding, humility always exist within us. Even Angulimala, the most brutal person in the world, still has kindness and purity. Your eyes, observe carefully. You are not an ordinary person. I am a very ordinary person. I am bringing enlightenment teachings to humanity. All humans have the same enlightened nature. My path can transform brutality into fearlessness. Anula, stopping your hateful steps means you have embarked on the path of compassion and kindness. Then you are Buddha. Why is Buddha spreading liberation teachings everywhere? You have gone too deep into wrongness and sin. You have killed too many people. You can no longer stop. Nothing is impossible in doing good deeds. It is never too late, and you cannot turn back anymore. It is already too late. You can be wise enough to realize the crimes you have committed, meaning you still have the ability to clearly distinguish good and evil in this world. Angulimala, from today, if you cannot sincerely correct your mistakes, it means starting a new life. Whatever you do, in others' eyes, you are still a demon. They will not leave you alone. You can give up all violence. I will guide you protect you from everyone's hatred. But the path, you must walk it yourself. Are you telling the truth? Of course, Anan. You have more wisdom than others. On the path to enlightenment, there must be great achievements. Teacher, I promise you, I will never do evil again. From now on, I will wholeheartedly follow your path of compassion. I beg you, please accept me as your disciple. Go, I do not accept disciples. People join the monastic community voluntarily. A snake sheds its old skin, replacing it with a completely new body. Humans can also rely on their own efforts to change their body and mind, to change their form, to have a new life. Buddha, what have you achieved in meditation? Nothing, just that I have separated from desires, hatred, and escaped the sorrow. I no longer feel anxiety. I am not afraid. I am not afraid of aging, and I have conquered this death. The monks I care about are all righteous. A spark burns in the forest. To sustain the flame, it will burn everything in its path. The more it burns, the larger it becomes, and the evil flame is the same: anger, sorrow, greed, fear. They use our fuel to keep burning endlessly. The flames of hatred and greed burn forever until we are liberated from samsara. Suppose someone only focuses on material enjoyment in life, striving to earn lots of money, but in their heart, they are bound in deeper and deeper conflicts, never knowing enough. They worry day and night, anxious. What if their wealth is lost? If humans can cut these bonds, they need not worry about their future, nor carry the burden of the past. Calm, free, mindful in the present, maintaining the middle way. In the end, they will attain true peace of this world. Profound lessons of the Buddha to listen to every day now. I bring forth the wisdom that I have personally realized to teach to you. I practice diligently, seek diligently, guide myself, and search diligently for the path of cultivation without any guidance from others. The ultimate truth can be realized by oneself, and enlightenment requires personal practice. If you attain it, you will become aware that everything is very simple. Understand forgiveness, that is true liberation. It is ignorance that causes suffering, delusion, and anxiety. Greed, anger, arrogance, delusion, doubt, fear, all arise from ignorance and create illusions. Illusions contrast with ignorance. Illusions have two opposing aspects: maintaining the middle path without leaning to either side, not letting the physical body be hungry or indulging in desires, focusing solely on the middle path. If you recognize that evil is merely an illusion, then all disturbances will naturally be accompanied by love and compassion. The essence of these two emotions is the same. If you feel this way, hatred will cease to exist. When someone treats us maliciously, we can understand, and once the door of wisdom is opened, all that remains is compassion. Wisdom helps us clearly distinguish truth from phenomena, differentiate between ourselves and others. This very differentiation leads our lives astray. Humans are often bound by emotions, with greed being the cause that distances us from the truth in the cycle of samsara from birth until death. We fear illness and death. This only increases our ignorance and fear. Therefore, all illusions must be eradicated. Once you step out of illusions, life will be free, liberated from constraints, serene, calm, and peaceful. The Four Noble Truths are the Four Noble Truths. The first truth: suffering is inevitable. It follows us like a shadow follows the form. The second truth: the cause of suffering is ignorance, greed, hatred, sorrow, anxiety, fear, disappointment, and attachment to the self. The third truth: the cessation of suffering, which is wisdom, the understanding of the truth about oneself and life. Wisdom and this perception lead to the cessation of suffering and the emergence of peace. The fourth truth: the path to the cessation of suffering, which is the Noble Eightfold Path nurtured by mindfulness and awareness, leading to concentration and wisdom, liberating all suffering. These are the 8 right paths: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The righteous path will guide our behavior. I, the Dharma, have realized this path and will help sentient beings attain nirvana. The more one approaches selflessness, the more peace blossoms in the heart. Those who are selfish, clingy, restless, troubled, and deeply contemplative realize that I do not possess anything of my own, and I look around at all sentient beings. Understanding this, sending love, and having compassionate eyes towards the south, north, west, and east ensures that all beings are friends for life. Like a spider slowly weaving a beautiful web, the natural world creates myriad things in the world. That beauty is infinitely vast. Human perception is entirely chosen by the mind. Countless people in the world suffer because of material things. Their lives are poor, faces are lacking, they endure all sorts of injustice. Many suffer mentally. Look around you. The natural world does not change, only your perception changes. Anything excessive, even ultimate joy, is suffering. Therefore, one must maintain the middle path. In this way, you will clearly see the nature of things and attain infinite tranquility. Your life's rights belong to your parents, those who gave birth to you and raised you. You owe them a great debt of life. It belongs not only to you, but also to them. When our minds have desires, we believe that achieving them will bring great joy. But when dreams become reality, our hearts become empty. Do you know why? The arising of desire is like dreaming of something. Once achieved, the long-awaited dream means there is no longer resistance in life, like water flowing through a gap. Forget the illusory desires of the world. Forget your life and death, because they bring you no benefits. Even if you fear the disappearance of this life, first deny its existence and find a hidden self within you. Sorrow arises from an unyielding and insufficiently generous heart. You are angry because you want things to go your way, and your heart is not generous enough. You are grieved because your thinking is not positive enough. You worry because your mind is not intelligent enough. You are in pain because your determination is not strong enough. You are jealous because you are not excellent enough. You are greedy because you have not understood impermanence. Each type of disturbance originates from ourselves. Whenever they appear, it is an opportunity to return to observing the inner self, recognize our own shortcomings, and then strive to transform them. For countless years, we often see and criticize others' faults. Scriptures and scholars are needed to help cleanse their sins, like offerings and sacrifices. But I affirm that the cause of all sins lies within ourselves. Only we can open the door to liberation. Simply maintain pure conduct, uphold the 5 precepts. The first precept: do not kill any living beings. All beings fear death as you do. By abandoning the act of killing, compassion will naturally arise in your heart. The second precept: do not steal and strive to help those in need to the best of your ability. The third precept: do not engage in sexual misconduct, maintain fidelity to your spouse. The fourth precept: do not lie, do not speak two-facedly, do not use sweet words or say inappropriate things. The fifth precept: do not consume intoxicants that cloud the mind. My Dharma is very simple, but incredibly solid. All things in the world are born and die. That is the natural law. Whether old or young, wise or ignorant, everyone must die. The moon floats in the sky, resembling this supreme truth. Every night the moon rises, grows larger until full. After fullness, it wanes until nothing is seen, then begins to cycle again. But it never disappears. It only hides beyond our sight. The essence of life is like the shadow of a suffering person, following us throughout our lives. The cause of suffering is attachment to conditions. All things are impermanent. Life and death, gatherings and separations are not two, but one. The key to liberation lies in the transformation of the soul. Whether sorrow overwhelms or joy floods in, one must maintain equanimity between the two. Practice in this way, and the chains of suffering will naturally break, and you will understand the ultimate truth. Do not let a spark burn in the forest. To maintain the flame, it will burn everything in its path. The more it burns, the larger the flame becomes. Evil deeds are the same: anger, sorrow, greed, fear. They use our internal fuel to ignite endlessly. Hatred and greed flames burn forever until we are liberated from samsara. Suppose someone only focuses on material enjoyment in life. They strive to earn a lot of wealth, but their hearts are bound by conflicts, sinking deeper and never feeling satisfied. They are anxious day and night. What if their wealth is lost? If someone can cut off those bonds, they do not need to worry about their future or carry the burden of the past. Calm, free, mindful in the present, maintaining the middle path ultimately leads to true peace in the world. This is the empty nature. The empty nature is empty, and that is never ending. Bringing love to dissolve hatred is the most fundamental principle. Three things are absolutely never obscured by darkness: the sun, the moon, and the true nature of reality. The truth is never buried. If people want to transform, they must first be self-aware. When speaking of misfortunes, counting on 10 fingers is not enough. There are hundreds of fingers of goodness. If our ancestors committed wrongdoings and sowed bad seeds, their remaining years naturally resemble those pebbles. They will sink to the bottom of the water, while their meritorious deeds will float like oil on the water's surface. Thus, the seeds you sow will bear fruit not only in this life, but also in many reincarnated lives, bearing the karmic results of your actions. The body of this life is not solely for this lifetime. After this body dies, the karmic formations remain in the ocean of samsara. Whatever seeds you sow, you will reap their fruits. If someone always adheres to a certain principle, they will ultimately lose their spiritual freedom, becoming rigid and inflexible. If one blindly follows those prejudices, believing their faith is the only truth and denying everything else, the freedom of thought is entirely lost. Instead, a kind of prejudice dominates and controls human thoughts, leading to conflict and opposition. This naturally results in blind faith. Those without faith are even more controlled. Thought is an immensely powerful energy. It can completely dominate, but with such rigid ideas, it becomes the greatest obstacle on the path of cultivation. If tightly bound by it, the door to truth can never open. Everything I teach originates from my own experience. My path is neither a principle nor a sacred scripture, philosophy. It is merely pure perception and the transient truth. My path is meant for practice, not for reliance, worship, or impractical practice. All my knowledge is like a raft. You can use the raft to cross the river, but once you've crossed, do you need to carry the raft on your head? Emotions are divided into 3 types: joy, happiness, sorrow, pain, and tranquility. These 3 emotions are always present in our bodies and minds. Emotions are like waves that rise and fall, then return to tranquility. I suggest first examining the intensity of emotions, understanding and comprehending them, finding their origins. Whether joy or sorrow, you must find their sources. Once you find their origins, you will discover that everything is empty. The emptiness we speak of is like the vast blue sky, seemingly empty yet encompassing all phenomena. Continue to cling to that to cultivate supreme tranquility. Existing deeply within the heart, it will no longer be disturbed. Deep introspection reveals the mistakes. The most stubborn, hardest to change is also the softest, most fragile. Ignorance is the root of all disturbances. Our understanding relies on meditation. Meditation can dispel ignorance. Devotion, asceticism, fasting, offering sacrifices, or other forms cannot achieve this. Alms round is also a method of spiritual cultivation that teaches us humility and tranquility. Alms round is not self-deprecation. On the contrary, it helps the benefactors grow in compassion and their cultivation. In other words, begging is different from asking for alms. Those who beg to eat are avoiding responsibility. Through alms round, arrogance and pride within us will gradually diminish. For benefactors, it is a way to eliminate greed and cleanse their sins. Taking care of parents is the most important task. Serving both parents is a rare opportunity. A mother's love is as high as the sky and as vast as the ocean. Day and night, humans should never forget proper filial piety towards their parents. Nothing is better than living a gentle, virtuous, and happy life. If you can live that way, it is the best way to repay your parents. Once in a village, a venomous snake appeared. It had bitten many people, causing deaths. The villagers were extremely afraid. Even children dared not play near the snake's tree. One day, a monk passed by and rested under the shade of that tree. The venomous snake emerged and bit the monk, but seeing the monk's serene face, it was amazed. The monk said to it, "When you bite people and harm them, they suffer greatly, even to the point of death." The snake felt compassion and decided not to harm people anymore. Seeing that the snake did not bite, the villagers gradually stopped fearing it and began to poke it with sticks. Children stepped on its tail. It did not harm anyone. When children threw stones at it, it did not retaliate. Hunger and pain weakened the snake. At night, it could only swallow a few pebbles, and after 3 days, it was severely injured by others. The villagers saw it as a mere rope. One day, the monk came again and felt heartbroken witnessing the situation. While treating its wounds, the monk asked, "Why have you fallen into such a predicament?" The venomous snake replied, "I have realized the truth and no longer bite people." The monk laughed and said, "I told you to restrain your aggressive nature, but you have lost your self-defense. If you do not bite, you still have to show your fangs to scare them. Any act of defiance, even without killing, turns into violence. Those who have committed crimes must be punished according to their wrongdoings and evil karma. Remember not to harbor personal grudges. People judge offenders based on their sins and evil deeds. There are 3 truths that anyone can practice: a generous heart, skeptical speech, using pure compassion to dedicate throughout life. These 3 maxims are the foundation for building trust, making sentient beings loving and friendly. Language is like a sharp knife. It can harm people invisibly. Remember, never to think you are being humiliated. A person who feels shame needs the courage to admit it. This is the first step to correcting mistakes. I have seen in the distant future when parents and children oppose each other, siblings harbor hatred, spouses are discordant, homes burn down, and all kinds of crimes emerge one after another. People harm each other continuously due to race, language, and beliefs, causing division. We need to set a precedent in that era. Our standards will save humanity from the catastrophic events, preventing disputes in the monastic community. We will establish rules called the 7 Principles to End Disputes. Teacher Anne will clearly present these 7 things to other teachers. Teachers must remember, doubt is the most severe disease. It divides human affection like a poisonous medicine that kills friendship. It is also like sharp thorns piercing the bones. Never forget that our thoughts create us. Whether poor or rich, life has suffering. Only the suffering of each person differs. In marital life, equality is the most important thing. A family where both spouses love and harmonize brings prosperity. This prosperity can spread, making everyone feel happy in the world. The union of husband and wife must transcend physical and material desires. The wife is a part of the husband's body. The husband should respect and honor his wife, not cause her to lose face in front of others. The wife should not act against the husband. Women and husbands must live according to the duty of being a husband, avoiding bad habits. Every decision the husband makes must consider the wife's wishes. Loving your husband is also the wife's responsibility. Treat the husband's family as your own family, maintaining a loving, caring, and nurturing role for each family member. Husbands and wives should respect each other as esteemed guests, stay close to good people. Those who cannot focus on mindfulness will cause their children to become lazy, creating favorable conditions for cultivation. Thus, the state of the mind will be pure, undisturbed. Occupations must also align with the Dharma, regardless of the profession, whether in trading or daily trivial matters. First, understand clearly, then strive to accomplish it, such as cooking rice or boiling water. Do not see it as a trivial task, but as an opportunity to care for yourself, your husband, and your children. For any fortunate relationship in life, one should not be selfish, living only for oneself. Happiness, success, and wealth should be shared with everyone. Avoid gambling and intoxication. Be humble, polite, and friendly. Clearly, the opportunity to offer alms to monks or practice meditation can eliminate worries and difficulties. Finally, your soul will feel supreme tranquility. You must remember that every morning we open our eyes in the dawn of a new day. We must be fully aware of what we need to do. This is very important. People often forget to express gratitude. Humans must engrave in their hearts the things they are thankful for, like trees, flowers, wind, and water. They do not belong to us. The more we are grateful to everything, always carrying gratitude in our hearts to live and think that way, the more we will harvest, not in vain. If everything is in vain, aren't we all suffering and ending? If you are sick, what then? Death is no longer distant, right? Carrying gratitude in our hearts is like a beautiful flower blooming in the world. We are born on this great land. All emotions are suffering in this samsaric world, full of pain and sorrow. This world is not a place to stop the suffering. This world is the abode of the enlightened, but the enlightened must know how to awaken from ignorance. Being born with suffering, sorrow, delusion, anger, greed, arrogance, pride, and hatred all arise from ignorance. The triple gem, TNG, will lead humans astray. Although they are two natures, life and death are not different. They are one entity. We are hindered by wrong perceptions. Once all obstacles are removed, our entire existence will be completely independent, not relying on anything, not being entangled or bound. The precepts, concentration, wisdom, and the righteous path can dispel all wrong perceptions. I reiterate, these are right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. All phenomena are impermanent. Life is the path to death. Gatherings are manifestations of separation. If there is a large body of water, there must be flowing water. Without death, how can there be birth? My venerable teachers, you have devotedly served me. I am extremely grateful. You have diligently and wholeheartedly helped me. You have many admirable qualities, but you can still go further. Strive more to transcend this cycle of birth and death. Realize liberation of the inner self and mature. From each moment of suffering, you learn that you can achieve these things, and they are what bring you peace. Venerable teachers, you have 4 virtues. Venerable Anne's words are very gentle. Whatever it is, you feel content. Venerable Anne is always equitable to everyone. Venerable Anne's silent and modest speech makes everyone happy. Remember clearly that my path is not to lead you to escape this life. I believe that humans can change when exposed to the goodness or eradication of others' evil. This hope is for noble souls whose destinies are determined by their karmic deeds, causing deep introspection. For those who suffer from insomnia, long journeys. For the weary and those living in delusion, not understanding what the righteous Dharma is, thus their entire lives will be full of suffering and misfortune. Any knowledge that deceives you into reading or listening to false teachings, even the words I speak, should not be trusted hastily. Use your own learning and wisdom to observe, then analyze and verify it. Venerable Buddha, what if we meet you on the path of truth? On the path of truth, meeting anyone should not be hastily accepted. If you meet the Buddha, do not consider it as salvation. Even meeting your own father is of no use. Instead, leave the true path. Your life needs to be firmly grasped in your own hands. Do not rely on others. From extinction, see the imperishable in pain, see joy in brutality, see human affection in wickedness. See the good. Ignorance has obscured human vision. If we dissolve all those illusions, all suffering and worries will naturally disappear from our hearts. Compassion and forgiveness begin. Enlightenment, the feelings of sentient beings are the same. Light your own lamp, be your own lamp. Awaken, practice the righteous Dharma, focus on your inner self. Return to relying on yourself, do not rely on others. Everything is impermanent, you must find peace amidst all changes. Diligence is not solving, eternal concentration, do not give up. This is Anne. The supreme truth does not lie in the void but within each person's heart. Everyone diligently upholds the 5 precepts, right? If so, today, let us ensure that we must love and protect our children. Grandchildren must surely love and care for them. As for the elderly, we must love and take care of them wholeheartedly. We must empathize with those who strive and make efforts. For the weak, no matter how wrong they are, we should treat them generously. We must remember that these opportunities are everywhere in our lives. Venerable Buddha, sometimes we intentionally do things against the Dharma. If you feel remorse for these actions, then when you commit wrongdoings, you need to frequently correct your behavior. Our thoughts have created us. If thoughts are not good, they will manifest in actions and suffering. From there, it becomes like a wheel rolling in the direction of the true person's pull in our hearts. Always think of goodness, and your actions will be meritorious and happy, always accompanying you in this life. So what about encountering other calamities in life? Please guide us. In summary, there are only three most important things. First, do we love genuinely or not? Second, do we live fully or not? Third, moving one step further, can we let go of everything or not? The reason we exist is to seek the meaning of life. When we sacrifice ourselves, dedicate our hearts and spirits, we also see the supreme truth of life. Life and death, like shadows following forms, coming together and eventually dispersing everything. All phenomena are impermanent. Do not cling to them, and remember that conquering yourself is more important than conquering others. No one can ever be taken away, whether celestial beings or Atula, whether it is the heavenly realm or the hellish realm. And snakes can shed their old skin and become new forms. Today, I have witnessed how every small drop of water has merged into the ocean. There are three truths that anyone can practice: a generous heart, skeptical speech, using pure compassion to dedicate throughout life. These three maxims are the foundation for building trust, making sentient beings loving and friendly. Whether poor or rich, life has suffering. Only the suffering of each person differs. Monks and nuns, up to today, the knowledge I impart to you, you need to think thoroughly, observe carefully, and apply it in your cultivation. First, you must realize it yourself before sharing it with others. From today, you must bear the heavy responsibility of spreading the supreme truth to all sentient beings. Do not hastily believe anything, even my own words, until you apply your own learning and wisdom, then analyze and determine that it is completely trustworthy without any doubts. Monks and nuns, all phenomena are impermanent, born and die, arise and perish. You must always strive to be liberated. What you say is completely contradictory. You believe in life after death, but do not believe in the existence of the self. Without a self, how can there be life after death? You are not wrong, but this does not contradict each other. Without a self, there is still life after death. How so? Have you ever seen a guava fruit? We take its seeds, plant them in the ground, it grows into a guava tree, then bears fruit. Isn't this the afterlife of the guava tree? So you are denying its nature. Venerable saints, the first noble truth you present: everything is suffering. The world is full of suffering. Birth and death are also suffering, only suffering and pain. This is not a negative thought, is it? You are not wrong, but why? The first noble truth, I say the following: noble truth is the cessation of suffering. Speaking of the cessation of suffering, first I explain to everyone what suffering is. I only show everyone how to overcome suffering. In this way, how can it be completely negative? You come here to destroy this world, to make young people all become monks. I am not destroying the world. What I want people to let go are the artificial pleasures, gently leading them back to the source of life. Walking on this path requires courage. Only great heroes can do it. This vast world, hands holding a bowl. Every thought focuses on the body and mind, like walking on a knife's edge. Thus, an unawakened child can greatly advance their family, but also has the potential to cause them great harm. Similarly, monks see the whole world as their family. An awakened monk can bring progress to this world. You are very correct. You teach the Dharma not to kill, making soldiers all become practitioners. They want to demonstrate justice, but always feel guilty. Not wrong, but not killing. It is a perpetual cycle of violence that cannot be extinguished, but love can achieve this. This is the natural law. Everyone fears death. If you realize that others have the same thoughts, then you will consciously let go of violence. The more one approaches selflessness, the more peace blossoms in the heart. The more selfish, clingy, restless, troubled, and deeply contemplative, realizing that I do not possess anything of my own, and looking around at all sentient beings. Understanding this, sending love, and having compassionate eyes towards the south, north, west, and east ensures that all beings are friends for life. Our minds are like a path. The more calculations, the more schemes, the narrower that path becomes compared to a broad heart. A broad heart is one path wide. A large house is not as wide as a broad heart. Good fortune is not as good as a good heart. Then the feet are true. Happiness lies within the heart. Madness and deep contemplation, harmonious and vast.